Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Council of Elrond. And in case anyone's been hiding under a rock the last week, Amazon Prime have finally announced the title of their new Lord of the Rings TV show in the most badass way possible. If you haven't seen this 1-minute YouTube clip, maybe pause this podcast and look it up before we dissect it. I'm Dave, and with me, as per usual, is my co-host and brother, Jonathan.
Yes, guys, hello. And before we get into today's episode, I'd just like to give a big thank you to some of our members and sponsors on our Buy Me a Coffee account. So firstly, to Matt, also known as @couching_tiger. Just like to say thank you very much for becoming a member and for your very, very kind message also. And similarly to Jason Wallers, thank you very much for your contribution and for your kind messages as well, sir. Also to Brian Seeley for becoming a member, and to Annika for your kind donation, and also to Jack Knightley for your little Christmas gift that you sent us. So thank you so much. And to everybody else who sponsors us, your donations really mean the world to us. So thank you from the bottom of our melon hearts.
Come, Gimli! We're gaining on them!
So first of all, Johnny, would you like to tell us what the show is called and what you thought of the title reveal? Maybe explain what happens.
Sure. Well, the title of the show is The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. So, obviously the title of the show, the main title is The Rings of Power, I suppose. But they do have a little, in small text, The Lord of the Rings at the beginning, which I think most people kind of expected because Amazon aren't going to, say no to that massive pull that the name The Lord of the Rings has and the massive promotional and marketing power that has. So I think a lot of people expected that, but I'm just glad it's not called The Lord of the Rings on Prime.
Yeah,
obviously that's what we've been calling it for the last.
I was getting worried there because it's been called that for so long, and I was like, it's coming out and just
not
too long. But
I never thought that was going to be the final.
I never
name.
did,
That's
but
terrible.
They could have given us the title ages ago. But look,
I like that they've given it to us now, because now it's like we've got that little bit of content, and it's just like literally. I've seen people complaining online about like, oh, this is a terrible trailer, and I'm like, no, it's not a trailer. It's just literally a teaser to tease you the title of the show. That's literally all they wanted to do, just to give the title and to do it in a very, like you said in the intro, a badass way. So for people who haven't seen it, or again, as we said, hopefully everybody has seen it, or if you haven't, go watch it now. But the first time you watched this, Dave, did you think it was? What did you think was going on? What were your very first thoughts?
Okay, yeah. So the very first thing was I thought it was like mountains and scenery and I don't know, valleys and rivers and hills and like mist coming over,
like in a desert or something.
Yeah, and like mist. Like obviously now when I'm rewatching it, I can pick it up for what it is. But yeah, my first initial thoughts were beautiful scenery. Actually, I showed it to our mum, and that was the first thing. She was like, "Oh, it's beautiful," and I assume she meant like, "Is that New Zealand or where is this?" But I was like, "No, that's a slab of wood."
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I was like, "Oh, there's some sort of sandy situation, and there's kind of crevasse and steam like rising up. Yeah, fill it
with your mighty."
So that's what my first opinions were. And so obviously the camera is flying along, and again I thought like maybe this is CGI and maybe it's kind of just animation and whatever. And basically what we do see is we see this kind of beautiful sandy kind of mountainous kind of visual, and then there's all sort of steam going through the valley that looks like, but eventually it rises up and we see that there's lava kind of running down through those valley areas, and we zoom out further and we realize that lava is spelling out the title of the show. And so obviously it's not actually landscape at all. It's actually just a big, what Dave said, a slab of wood. But it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful slab of wood.
Yeah.
And then also to our delight, we saw that recently after they published this initial video, they published a little behind the scenes. And Dave, would you like to explain what we saw in the behind the scenes?
Yeah, so immediately when I retweeted this on Twitter, we did receive a good few comments, and I was surprised to see a lot of people were claiming that the CGI looked really fake. And I kind of thought at first, like you said, that there was some CGI looking elements, but I think within the hour, IGN released a 40-second video showing the behind the scenes. And that makes me appreciate it even more, because you can see that it is 100% practical, using real wood, real hot molten metal being poured in with real water splashing over it, real steel, and it just looked really cool. And I'm glad they showed the behind the scenes immediately, because there were a lot of people going, this is fake. I think people just want to ruin it straight away.
Like you said, it was really funny, the amount of people that were like, not just saying, I think it's CGI, but saying, this CGI looks terrible.
Yeah.
And you kind of go,
fix your CGI.
It doesn't look real at all. It's like, no, this is actually like 100% practical effects, as you were saying. And so it's really just like, here, watch this, and then we'll get all the idiots come in that want to just sort of say bad things about it regardless, and then we'll just sit them down after about an hour, because we'll just release our actual behind the scenes video. So that was excellent, just to kind of, maybe that was planned. Like, we'll put this out, we'll get some people to immediately come out and spout their negativity towards it, but we'll just immediately shut them down. And so maybe the next time we release something, they'll think twice about just bad mouthing it. Because I don't know why. Again, I saw this like I don't want to call it a trailer, this teaser reveal, and immediately I was just like, my hairs were standing on end, my blood was pumping. I was like, oh, this looks amazing! I'm so excited. I was like, oh, I wonder. Oh, like, stupidly, I wonder what everybody on Twitter thinks about this. And I went on, it's just like so much negativity of people like, CGI looks crap. Oh, I don't like the title. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, it would be better if they called it whatever. And you're kind of going, can people not just be excited about something? We're getting some Lord of the Rings content. It's been 10 years since we've got something cool. And we know that also, maybe one of the reasons that I thought it looked somewhat like CGI was because it was shot at an incredibly high 4K frame rate. It was just like the latest technology. Like, it's so real that it didn't look real.
Yeah,
that's basically, I think, why people didn't like. A lot of people thought it was CGI.
Yeah, and I suppose our eyes aren't that good enough to look that closely at wood and the molten metal being poured in. Like, it just looks so big and clear, and it's so zoomed in that you must be like, this is made on a computer. But it's just because the camera is ridiculously good, and it shows that in the behind the scenes, the camera like jumping around and zooming in, and it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, it looks like the technology that they're going to be using just in the actual filming process is going to be insane. And of course, we know that this show has got a huge budget, but I can't imagine that they were going to blow any sort of a little kind of a budget on the filming of this. But I don't know, I just, like you were saying before, just the fact that they actually went kind of, over and beyond in terms of creating this tiny little teaser of the title, it just gives me a lot of hope, as in they're really going to be treating all of the elements of this series with great detail and with great care, and that's what I imagine is going to be the case. But anyway, we should go back and actually say what happens in it, because we haven't. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited, so I just kind of was blabbing on about the behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what else happens?
So basically, yes, we get this opening, and as we start to realize that these valleys are actually where the molten metal is creating the letters for the title of the show, all the time we've got this beautiful music in the background, and we have a voiceover by a certain female character who was later named to be Galadriel. So not Cate Blanchett. Now, of course, it is the... do you know her name, Dave?
Morfydd Clark is her name. She's playing young Galadriel.
Young Galadriel, but young Galadriel is the same age as old Galadriel, basically, because she's just timeless. Like, she's an immortal creature.
It's like saying young dad. Dad's always the same age. He'll always be 100 to me.
Yeah. So I suppose it's like, because I saw some people as well complaining, like, why didn't they get Cate Blanchett? And I mean, there's many reasons. First of all, the price that you're going to be paying to get someone like Cate Blanchett, like an Oscar nominated actress. I'm not sure if she's ever won, but she's definitely been nominated. Her, like, the cost of getting a huge star like that to commit as well for 5 seasons to a series, which is what this show is rumored to have, it's just a little bit too much. I don't think anybody expects that. But secondly, the fact that Galadriel, the character, is she is immortal, and she obviously... Now, Kate Blanchett looks really good for her age, but she has aged 20 years since The Lord of the Rings. And if this show continues on for 5 or even more years, she will have aged 25, 26 years. So Galadriel doesn't age, but Kate Blanchett does.
And it's okay to hire a younger actress when she is a couple of thousand years younger than we see her in The Lord of the Rings. So
that's true.
I think even if she just looks a little bit different, people will forgive that. And I think I think
it's
the
such
actress,
a small minor detail that it doesn't really matter. Like I would never, I didn't bat an eyelid when they were like, oh, we're going to have Galadriel and she's going to be played by whatever. It's kind of like,
sure, it's the same with Elrond is going to be played by a different actor, and we're probably going to see other characters that we don't know about. Isildur. Well, yeah. So we're going to see a lot of different actors. Obviously, it would be cool. No, I don't know. We'll get into talking about it closer to when the show's actually coming out. If we're going to see any actors like maybe Ian McKellen come up in like season 3 or 4 or who knows. But sure, we'll get
if you
into
think that we
time.
know what we're talking about, we have absolutely no idea, and because nobody knows, that information is definitely.
Well, I know.
Yeah, we know loads of stuff that you guys don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, so what Galadriel does, again, it's a nice choice to kind of have Galadriel doing the voiceover because it's a bit of a throwback to Galadriel doing the voiceover at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring movie. And she gives us the little sort of poem, which is the thing that's inscribed on Sauron's ring, which is, the 3 rings for the Elven Kings, and 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, and 9 for mortal men doomed to die, all that kind of stuff. And then the 1 ring for the Dark Lord on his dark throne. So that kind of famous poem of Tolkien's describing the different rings of power. And again, the title of the show is The Rings of Power. So just talking about the rings and all the different rings of power while they're revealing the title of the show, The Rings of Power, is quite apt, I think. And it's a good decision. And did I miss anything in that?
Well, one thing about that voiceover, since we're talking about it, that I think is interesting, it's just the first half of the poem that says 3 rings for Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. So it cuts off there. It doesn't do the whole 1 ring to bring them all and to the darkness bind them. So I think it's cool how it doesn't overindulge on the 1 ring, since it is called the Rings of Power. It just gives us a line for each ring, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah, that's very good.
And it was cool, just the way the teaser finished. It was like in the land of, and everyone is talking about how she pronounces Mordor. I think she's Welsh, but what a pronunciation of Mordor.
Yeah, in the land of Mordor,
where the shadows lay. Where the wee shadows lay. Yeah, they should have got Billy Connolly to do it, maybe. 3 rings for the Elven Kings.
Oh, brilliant. That would have had us all taking the show really seriously.
Yeah. I'm Dean Proudfoot.
It would have been really funny if they released if they did kind of almost like an April Fool's kind of thing, and they released this big teaser and they had some absolute, either that or some lad from Cork, being 3 rings for the 3 kings.
Just Roy Keane, what you mean, 3 rings for the Elven Kings, boy? Yeah, why doesn't anyone do that?
The whole world, basically just watch the whole world go insane, and then be an hour or 2 later, be like, no, sorry guys, we're only messing. This is the actual real one. And then
CTRL.
That'd be brilliant. That'd be if we were running Amazon, we'd definitely do that and watch our stock shares just plummet. Laughing all the way.
Yeah, oh god. Yeah, there's reasons we don't own big corporations like that. So back to the actual title itself. What is it all about? Well, as we know, the show is based on the Second Age, and the forging of the Rings of Power are going to be what starts most of the major conflict in this age. So this means that we will definitely be seeing some great events such as Celebrimbor forging the rings. We'll probably see, we already know we're going to see Sauron, so we're probably going to see him being a mischievous young devil.
Yeah, we're going to see the rings being forged by Celebrimbor, because I think we've spoken about this before on the show, but everybody thinks that Sauron created all the rings, and that's not true. Celebrimbor forged the rings for the elves, the elven rings. He forged their 3 rings under the guidance of Sauron. And Sauron, at this time, he wasn't a big Dark Lord. He was kind of sneakily disguised as an elf who called himself Alatar. And
Anatar.
Anatar, excuse me. Alatar is the friend of Palando. He's one of the Blue Wizards.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, where have I heard that before? Alatar.
Yeah. Sorry. So
listen to our Blue Wizards episode to hear all about Alatar and Palando.
Excuse me, I am half asleep. So Anatar was the name of Sauron's character back then when he was disguised as a treacherous elf, a sneaky boy.
And that's another cool thing we're going to see in this show. We're probably going to be seeing Sauron as a beautiful elf, a very handsome elf, and he's going to be pretending to be good, which is cool. These aren't really spoilers. This is common knowledge if you look anywhere. We don't have any insider information, and this is from the source material. So obviously we won't tell you any big major spoilers, but like these events might happen in flashbacks or in the very first few episodes. So
sure.
I'm really looking forward to it.
I am one of the biggest anti-spoilers. I don't even watch trailers for movies that I want to see anymore. If I know there's a cool trailer or if there's a cool movie coming out, very often Dave will send me on the trailer. And for example, did a trailer come out for the Batman the other day?
Well, maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Or was it? All right, yeah, I haven't watched it. I just refuse to watch it because.
Oh yeah. Well, again, I think the trailers are getting better. Like I know nothing about what Batman's about. They haven't even showed us the Riddler, which is the main bad guy, I think.
All right, okay. I mean, thanks for spoiling that for me, Dave.
Now we know that we don't know what the Riddler looks like.
No, but actually, that would be really cool if it was. I'm a big Batman nerd as well, and so I remember when I was 12 years old or something, writing an email to some production company telling them my plans for a Batman movie. So and I was like,
was this where you said Ian McKellen should be the Riddler?
Yeah, I think I name dropped Ian McKellen as the Riddler. I was like, I want the Riddler to be the main bad guy because I love the Riddler. He's a class character. But I was like, I don't want him to be I love Jim Carrey, but he plays a really, really
quite ridiculous,
goofy Riddler, which was cool as well. And again, it was just kind of totally Jim Carrey. But I was like, I'd love if they made him this highly intellectual, I don't know, like a professor or something. And he's just this guy who's just angry at the world because nobody is as intelligent as he is. So he just starts to play these sick games on people to show how much smarter he is than everybody else. Yeah. And that was my kind of idea for the Riddler character. And I kind of sent that in and I got absolutely no response from anybody. So,
shocking.
Yeah, I know. That was it. Devastated 12-year-old me. But anyway,
one thing hasn't changed. He still speaks in riddles.
You still speak in riddles.
So yeah, we will be seeing some pretty cool events in this series. I don't know, did you want to say anything more on that, Johnny?
About what we'll possibly see? Well, again, sorry, that whole spiel was basically to say that don't worry, we're not going to be giving away any spoilers, but we're going to be talking about general things that everybody's kind of know everybody kind of knows that these things are going to happen. For example, everybody knows that Sauron was the one who helped Celebrimbor to create the Elven rings, but then Sauron created all the other rings, but he didn't do it while he was the Sauron that we see in the Lord of the Rings movies. In fact, he was this elf character, but then this elf character, his body gets destroyed, and then he becomes Sauron, who we see in the movies. So again, we're probably going to get to see that, and we're going to get to see a whole host of things that happen in the island city of Numenor. And also yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday? No,
Wednesday.
So then, yes, on Wednesday when they released this teaser trailer, the showrunners released a little statement, and I don't have the exact statement written down there. I'm not sure if you do, Dave.
Yeah, so this is quite cool. I think this really got my goosebumps going. So showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay said in their press release, quote, This is a title that we imagine could live on the spine of a book next to J.R.R. Tolkien's other classics. The Rings of Power unites all the major stories of Middle-earth's Second Age, the forging of the rings, the rise of the Dark Lord Sauron, the epic tale of Númenor, and the last alliance of the elves and men. Until now, audiences have only seen on screen the story of the One Ring, but before there was one, there were many, and we're excited to share the epic story of them all. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps now even.
Amazing.
Reading
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So basically, yeah, before this, we didn't really have much information at all, but in that, he name drops things like Númenor, which we already kind of basically knew. Maybe we saw that in the first one, I can't remember. But the more important thing was, or the more exciting thing in my opinion, was he actually name drops the Last Alliance, which is the name of the battle and of the actual alliance of men and elves and dwarves, which don't get named at all ever when people say the Last Alliance of men and elves, but dwarves were there as well. That's actually what happened at the very end of the Second Age, and that's what sort of ended the Second Age. That's where Sauron was killed, I suppose. So, that's where they cut off the ring off Sauron's finger. So, which we see at the beginning of the movies. So it seems like that could be their sort of end goal in this series, that they're going to show loads of things like events from the Second Age, all building towards that big, huge battle sequence that we see at the very beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, which would be like so cool if that was like the big final moment. But again, this is all speculation. We've no idea, and I've also heard people online saying that depending on the success of the show, that rumored 5 series could grow, and that could become even more. And then Amazon could go on to buy more rights for example, the beginning of the Third Age and things like that, because obviously we see in the Fellowship of the Ring that first battle at the beginning, and then we jump to the events of the Lord of the Rings, which are 3,000 years later. So there's a huge scope of things at the beginning of the Third Age as well. I shouldn't say the beginning, in the Third Age. And so that's stuff as well that they could all that could be written about, or that could be shot on this series. So there's basically, we're just entering into a world now where it looks like the door has just been opened, and I don't know, maybe I don't want to say that Lord of the Rings could become like the next, Marvel or Star Wars with all these
cinematic
spin-offs,
universe,
but like it could go somewhere like that. At least I don't want it to be like every 2 months we've got a new show. Yeah. Well, I probably would watch absolutely everything that they put out, but at least I'd be glad that I'm not waiting 10 years for a new kind of Lord of the Rings. I don't know, or like Middle Earth world, movie or series. And this year also, we shouldn't forget, we're also going to get that movie, The War of the Rohirrim, the animated movie. So it's great.
Yeah, and I like that. I like little dribs and drabs of Middle-earth Tolkien lore things coming into back into mainstream media again. So that is exciting. So I never like hearing about spin-off shows and such, but maybe I wouldn't call them spin-off shows, but we could get other TV shows based on other parts of the Middle-earth ethos.
Also, just one other thing to say that maybe we might be able to see, which is kind of cool, is that during the Second Age was when a lot of basically the big realms of Middle-earth were being created. And for example, Gondor and the cities of Gondor were being built. So we could see that as well. We could see the cities like Minas Tirith growing and expanding and being built, and Helm's Deep rising and things like that as well.
Yeah, because I was actually reading that chapter of the Silmarillion was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday, where it was talking of Beleriand and men and all that kind of stuff. And that was so cool when they describe how Minas Tirith was just this big tower at first over the river or near the River Syrian. And then it just started to grow out, and that's really cool. And it's so cool to see. We might see these exact same structures from Peter Jackson's world, but we might see them like when they're in development. And we do see a lot of ruins in Peter Jackson's world as well. So it would be cool to see these structures back when they were in their heyday.
Yeah, like Osgiliath, I suppose.
Like Osgiliath, like the Watchtower as well. Amon Hen.
I've got such a.
Or Amon Sul.
Is it possible to have a crush on a city? But I do on Osgiliath, because again, I think I just have a crush on like Boromir and everything he does. So like that extended scene from the second movie where Boromir's in there and they've reclaimed Osgiliath and he's just there. The city, which used to be like a beacon of light and music and whatever, and so it shall be once more. I'm like, Osgiliath sounds class.
Yeah, Osgiliath is class. And there was a nice pun there with crush on Osgiliath because it gets crushed every time the orcs come visiting. So
A place of light and beauty and music, and so it shall be once more!
yeah, for me, when I watched the trailer, the first thing I know, well, obviously I was watching it visually as well, but before I clicked in,
I know what you're going to say.
The first thing I noticed was the music and the fact that this is the first time since 2014 that we have heard any new Middle-earth Howard Shore music, and it's just so good. And it was only a 1 minute trailer, but oh yeah, and by the way, the music is being composed by both Howard Shore and Bear McCreary. I don't know if people know Bear McCreary. People know him from the God of War video game, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's such an epic piece of music for just 1 minute trailer. Like the way it like grows and falls away and everything.
Oh, the way it just cuts out when the water comes rushing in. Where, so we haven't actually discussed, or we haven't actually mentioned that all of the details that happen in the video. Where it's a 1 minute video and we are taking way too long to.
We are ruining it.
Butchering
this 1 minute video.
Basically, obviously, the molten metal, the lava is being poured into these things. It starts to spell out the name of the rings of power, and it zooms out, and then we see this water rushing in and cooling the metal and basically solidifying it.
More steam.
And then steam, of course, because the water plus the lava creates all the steam. So it's very kind of cool. And again, another reason why people are like, oh, those CGI effects look crap. And it's like, no, that's real water, that's real steam, and it was just really, really
so
well done.
good.
And again, in the behind the scenes video, you should, if you haven't seen it, really, really, it's 40 seconds.
Yeah,
go check it out. It's so cool, and it's really, really well done. But
it just adds another layer to the whole thing. And both myself and Johnny watched the Nerd of the Rings live stream as well, and he was talking about this reveal, and one thing he picked up on, which I thought was really, really cool, was the actual timing of the line 9 for mortal men doomed to die. The first 2 lines of the poem are spoken, and then there is a pause. The music cuts out and it starts to build as slowly Galadriel or Morfydd Clark says the line mortal men doomed to die, as the water comes crashing into frame, which heavily teases the sinking of Numenor, which is so cool. Even though we know that the showrunners have already mentioned Numenor, but it was just a real nice little detail that would go unnoticed by most. But the fact that Nerd of the Rings picked it up, I'd say I might have picked it up if I watched it 10 more times, but kudos to you.
That's why he's the OG.
He's the OG. So yeah, back to the music as well. I just wanted to say Amazon finally made it official by replying to someone's tweet asking, Howard Shore, that you? To which they responded, yes, that's Academy Award winning composer Howard Shore, no big deal. And it's funny because it's been rumored that he's been attached to the project for ages, and Fellowship of Fans has told us that, yeah, it's confirmed. But like, Amazon have never come out and said it, they've never put him, they've released some of the actors, but they've never once said who the composer is. And I think that might have been done by like someone that's not like very high up in Amazon, just the guy that's running the Twitter account was like, yeah, of course it's Howard Shore, I'm just going to reply to this dude here. And that's our first official confirmation that it will be Howard Shore taking the helm, taking the reins.
Right. So NBD, no big deal. I didn't know what that was.
I googled that too.
I feel like mum.
I googled it. I was like NBD meaning, and then I got something else. I was like NBD meaning Twitter.
All right, okay, because I'm just like, I don't know anything. Like BRB?
Riddles in the dark.
So, back to... we're jumping all over the place in this review here, but back to the actual title itself. I mean, I think on retrospect, looking at it now, it was always going to have rings, the word rings in the title attached to it because Lord of the Rings. But yeah, I still really like it. It's vague enough, but it's also specific enough, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean, I think what we maybe could expect from the title, The Rings of Power, that, I don't know, maybe... I think, like we were saying before, that we shouldn't expect to be thrown into the world and to see, for example, oh, here, the dwarves have their 7 rings and the elves have their 3 rings and the men have their 9. No, we should expect to see the rings being given to each of those tribes by Sauron. And so that's going to be a cool event to see. But then also, maybe we'll, in the show, be following like the dwarves and the dwarven kings and the leaders of their clans with their rings. We'll follow them and have like their little story, and then we'll be following the men, and we'll see like the 9 and their fall to Sauron, and then we'll be following. So maybe like the individual rings will almost be like characters. So maybe like the protagonist of the show could be the rings, if you know what I mean. Or not necessarily the rings, but actual like the ring bearers, like each of the individual bearers of all of those rings. And I would imagine, again, if we've got 7 dwarves, there'll probably be one main one that we'll follow. Probably Durin. Durin the
second?
First?
Durin the first?
No. I think it's Durin the 4th.
Oh, right, okay. I haven't a clue.
That gets the ring.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take. I never actually thought about that before. Well, I suppose we've only had a day or two to digest this title, but
I've just literally, like, in the last 30 seconds, I was like, this is it.
Yeah, but I think I always expected it to be something simple like the Rise of Sauron, and I thought attaching the name Sauron to the show would have been enough. And now looking at it, I see rings is big. Like, the word rings is gonna pull a lot of people, but yeah, that's cool. And I suppose maybe it doesn't have to be, maybe the rings aren't the protagonists, or maybe it doesn't have to be all about the rings, but they are the overarching thing. It's kind of like if we were to call Marvel, the whole cinematic universe, if we were to just call that like the Infinity Stones, I suppose that's just phase 1 and 2. But they're kind of the thing that it's all about, but it's not necessarily directly involved in every episode, so sure. Maybe they'll come into fruition more in the latter seasons, and we'll actually see them be rings of power. But like maybe we'll just see like a prologue, and then they're spread out and we don't see much more of them for the rest of the season. Again,
we mightn't have a mention of them until like the end of season 1. Maybe season 1 is going to be about, Anatar befriending the elves and Celebrimbor, and then basically kind of like worming his way in there with them guys. And, I don't know, just maybe then eventually going on to the forging of just like random maybe political events that are going on around the base. Or I'm not too sure, like I'm sure they'll be able to come up with some like really cool stories. But then maybe towards the end of season 1, they could actually have the forging happening, and then the discussions that went on between the King of Numenor and Sauron saying like, oh, it might be a good idea to gift these rings to whoever had that conversation.
I can't wait for this show.
It's going to be like really cool. But we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, that's...
Yeah, I think in general, I like it as well. And also, somebody said it on Twitter, and I can't find any evidence of this, but they actually said that this name, The Rings of Power, was used by Tolkien himself in a version of Lord of the Rings before it came out in some letter. I couldn't find any evidence of this because naturally when I Googled The Rings of Power and every other word after, we're just going to get all the news that just popped out the last couple of days. So I don't know if anyone out there knows if this is true, please let me know. But apparently this title was already used by J.R.R. Tolkien, which makes it even sweeter just to know that he would probably
How do you mean? As it was used as a title?
You see, I wasn't sure. I couldn't even find that tweet, but somebody responded to us saying, or responded to somebody else in our comment section.
I think I saw that.
Someone was blasting the name, I think, and then another person was like, dude, J.R.R. Tolkien literally used this before Lord of the Rings in a letter or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then when I went to try and find it again, I couldn't. But if anyone knows any more information about that, please get in touch. hit us up on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Also, we've had Fellowship of the Ring be FOTR. We've got TTT for the Two Towers. We've got RTOK.
ROTK.
Return. Or OTK. And then I'm not even going to bother doing all the AUJ and all that crap from The Hobbit, but this will be ROP. ROP. It just rolls off the tongue. That's the acronym for this one. So I like it.
ROP.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Because I'm sure we're going to be
Is it Cardi B that has the song WAP?
Yeah.
Or who is it? We get her do her ROP version.
Yeah. Is it WAP? Is that the name of the song? What's that mean? Oh,
well,
yeah. WAP.
Yeah, but it's not WAP. She pronounced it like WAP.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. WAP. Yeah, we'll get her to do ROP.
Yeah.
Also, I know our friends over on Fellowship of the Fans are translating the Elvish inscriptions on the letters with the help of Tolkien Guide and some others. So please go check out Fellowship of Fans on Twitter or YouTube. But yeah, they're pretty cool, and you'll get some extra meanings behind. And maybe we'll see some more stuff come out over the next few days. But they're actually looking at each individual letter on the Rings of Power, and they all have like mini inscriptions on the side.
Yeah, I saw a very small like part that they said that they had translated. I can't remember where I saw this, but there was a very tiny part that they had translated at the time. Maybe it was from Fellowship of Fans, and they said that the part that they had translated said something like the Dark One on his dark throne or something like that, basically. And they said, it wasn't word for word. It was more like
it was like the Dark Dissector.
Disgraced One.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something different. But they were kind of going, it's probably just like, the translation for what is actually being said by Galadriel as well. So it's probably just the actual, that poem again, 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky and all that. So that would make perfect sense again to have that inscription be the inscription on the lettering for the Rings of Power. So,
but it's cool because you get another version of it as well, and you get to just see a little bit deeper. And it's another added thing that the filmmakers did just for this teaser trailer, which I appreciate so much. I don't know if anyone saw on our Twitter, but we posted up something saying like the amount of time and effort, and I don't know, the amount of time and effort that went into the teaser trailer alone. I think it bodes well for the actual quality of this show that's coming out. Some people disagreed, some people agreed, but I think it can only be a good thing that they put so much effort into this teaser trailer. It's very cool. I can't remember the last time we got a name reveal being this epic, and the music and everything. Like, it's good. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I don't think I've ever been this excited before about like the name drop of anything, I suppose. So it's kind of like a new world we've just entered. Like we're getting content, visual and audio. Like Howard Shore is composing content for a name drop of a 1-minute video. Like, what is going on in the world? Like,
just let that sink in. Like Numenor sank. Just let it sink. Spoiler: Numenor survives.
The rise of Numenor,
and the rise of Gondolin, the rise of Numenor, and
If you're standing on your head, you could call it a rise.
Yeah, I suppose.
If you're doing a handstand,
if you're in Australia,
the city is rising.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, in general, when we're going to be doing these podcasts, I know personally I'm not going to, and I know Johnny will definitely not look at any leaks or anything, because I am seeing I think there might be leaks out there, and like I'm avoiding them. And a lot of people, in fairness, are putting up things like, by the way, this contains massive spoilers or leaks. Look if you want. We won't be looking at any of those, so don't worry. Anything you hear on our channel or our podcast or on our Twitter, it'll only be talking about what's readily available by Amazon to everyone. So I just want to put that out there in case anyone.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. And also just to let people know that in the future, when the show is being aired, we will be in our weekly podcast, we will be discussing, of course, things that have happened on the previous week's episode. And so maybe in those episodes, if you haven't already seen that week's episode of the Rings of Power, oh my God, I'm already saying like the Rings of Power. So Rob, if you haven't seen the episode of the Rings of Power and then you listen to our episode, you may hear us discussing things that have happened in that show. But we'll probably, preface it by saying, spoiler alert or something like that. But I would recommend that, again, we're speaking about down the road in September when this show is actually being aired, September, October, around then. We're going to be, of course, in our weekly podcast. We'll probably be doing some similar content to what we're doing now, talking about random things, but we'll probably have a section in almost every week's episode to discuss what happened in that week's episode of the show as well.
Yeah. And you'll have plenty of time. The episode comes, I think each episode comes out on a Friday and our podcast come out on a Wednesday. So if you don't watch it by then, come on, you're slacking.
Come on, guys.
You're slacking.
Come on. But then also, thank you for putting us ahead of this $1 billion Amazon series. If you're actually turning to Mellon Heads content before you're going to Amazon, well then, kudos, well done. You're the real G.
Yeah, and if you don't want to support Jeff Bezos and Amazon and all that kind of stuff, just torrent it, or else just listen to us and we'll tell you everything that happened.
Yeah, save your money. Don't pay for Amazon Prime. Give us that money.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what happens.
Subscribe to the Mellon Heads.
Yeah, audio is way better than visual, you guys.
Don't tempt me, Frodo.
So, I think we touched on it already, but the huge amount of negativity for this project baffles me. All over social media, people are telling us that the show is going to suck or that they're simply not going to watch it because either they don't like other fantasies made by Amazon or rumors concerning plot or characters, ethnicity, etc., etc.
Yeah.
The fact that it's created by Amazon, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, and everyone hates him. But come on, guys, let's give it a chance. First of all, let's not slate it because of this, that, and the other. The only things that we know for certain are the title, couple of actors, a synopsis, an epic picture, and that Howard Shore is involved, and they're all massive
literally
positive things in my
so
opinion.
far so good with every single point.
Yeah.
Everything that we've seen so far has been great. Look, you don't like Jeff Bezos, fine. Do you like Harvey Weinstein? I doubt it. And he was involved in the making of The Lord of the Rings.
That's a good point.
We can't just be like, oh, I don't like this guy who's involved. And what's Jeff Bezos doing? Do you think he's got hands-on decisions of I think we should shoot it from this angle? No, he's got nothing to do with it. He is literally just the wallet of the people that are running the show. He is just funding the money and saying, here, make me lots of money. Lots of money.
And if you don't want to support him, then just torrent it. I see lots of people doing that. So
yeah, that's fine as well. But I mean, apart from that, like you said, Dave, the negativity online, again, I'm the same. I'm just baffled by why people are so adamant that this show is doomed to fail. And I've seen so many people online that they've obviously heard a rumor about something and it's probably not true, but then they just go on and they share it online as if it's definitely true. Just there midweek, I saw people saying, oh, this show is obviously going to fail because they had the Tolkien expert in quotations who left the show or something like that. And I think they said something who stormed off the show or something like that. So that means it's doomed to fail. And I was like, look, your information is definitely not true. We spoke on this channel. We spoke and we interviewed Fellowship of Fans. And he has said himself that this show, yes, there was one Tolkien expert who has left the show, but we don't know any of the details surrounding that. If it was he left because of different scheduling plans, we've no idea. And there still are multiple other Tolkien experts working on this show as well. So if you've any
Jeffrey Bezos.
worries or it's like Jeff Bezos, he is a Tolkien expert. But there are other people there that are going to be taking care of the literature of Tolkien. They're going to be taking care of the legacy. So we don't need to start worrying about things and just creating these big, tension and stress over things but the show hasn't even started. So, I mean, again, if the first episode comes out and it's completely rubbish, then by all means, go ahead, start bashing your keyboards on Twitter and telling everybody how much you hate the show. Fine, that's completely fine, but give it a chance first. That's what I'm sure Dave and I want to express and say. Look, I'm very optimistic about the show. I've got huge expectations. So I know maybe it won't live up to those expectations, but I'm going to be optimistic and I'm just really excited to have more Middle-earth content.
Yeah, and something I just wanted to say was that maybe why not try to think positively if you're one of these people that really truly believes that the show is going to tank. You don't have to set your expectations too high as well. You could just be optimistic. It's been a long time to wait since the last time we saw any Tolkien adaptation on screen. So, and who knows how long it'll be before we get to see the next one. So let's just sit back and enjoy the ride. Let's love seeing this teaser trailer and etc.
Yeah. Also, I do have some good news. For a lot of the negativity online is speculation around that this series are going to try and go the way of Game of Thrones, and there was some expert of like what was it, her title or his title?
The Tolkien Professor?
No. There was a person that was brought on to work on the show.
Oh, sorry.
They were like an intimacy expert or something like that. And people were saying, oh my God, that means there's going to be nudity. There's going to be blah, 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 whatever. And so that's what really freaked a lot of people out, that like Tolkien's work is going to be like,
tarnished,
destroyed by titties. So they were like,
just like everything.
This is what's going to ruin Tolkien. And basically also yesterday, the show, when it was being uploaded, it was the Tolkien Professor, you're right, Dave, that pointed out that is it on the Amazon page?
I think it was on the actual official Amazon page, where I assume they're showing the trailer on the Amazon Prime. So
sure. So on that page, they have listed this series as rating TV 14. So that means don't worry, relax. It's not going to be the new Game of Thrones. It's not going to be heavy violence and, I don't know, sexualized content. So I don't really know what's allowed in a TV 14s. Are they allowed to show anything that's a bit, risque? Are they allowed?
They'll probably be allowed one fuck, maybe.
Is that a verbal fuck or a visual fuck?
Like, it's probably up to whoever gets to call the shots. Jeffrey Bezos.
Yeah, I mean, if you are as mature as a 14-year-old, you should be able to watch this show and not feel offended by it. So, bad news for you, Dave.
Yeah, well.
So that should be good news. However, though, I heard then also, I think it was Nerds of the Rings was talking about this same thing, and he said, for reference, if you've watched The Wheel of Time, that's TV 16 rated. So just to give you guys a little bit of perspective on that, so it's rated at a lower age rating than even Wheel of Time, which doesn't have any.
Well, I think they might have a little bit of cursing,
violence.
a couple of SH1Ts every now and again, but like that's fine. But like that wouldn't fit into this Lord of the Rings show anyway. So it's a positive sign, and it was something that went right under the radar for most people. And suddenly Tolkien Professor just was like, boom.
Fair play to the Tolkien Professor for pointing that out.
Yeah, well done.
And that is an encouraging thought.
Also, one other thing that I thought was positive, I just wanted to add another bit of positivity. One of our Spanish-speaking followers on Twitter called Ash N Publicaciones pointed out to us that, quote, Peter Jackson had 3 years of preparation before shooting Lord of the Rings and only 6 months before shooting The Hobbit. Amazon will have had 3+ years of preparation before shooting this series, and I hope that they will deliver. Sorry, I am hopeful that they will deliver. So that's even better than I hope they will deliver.
And that bodes well for
I think it
this
bodes
series.
well.
And I think I don't know, when I hear people's arguments about how the amount of money that they spent on this show, when I hear people trying to spin that in a negative way, I'm like, I mean, are you crazy? I mean, you'd have to be an idiot to spend all this money and not try and do it in the best way possible in order to make that money back, even from a business perspective. I mean, I don't want to think about Tolkien's legacy in a business mindset, but if you do, you're still going to want to do the best that you can in order to be able to reap the benefits. And they know, why did they keep the Lord of the Rings in the title of the Rings of Power of this new series? Because they want to keep all of those fans, and they know that there's a huge fan base out there waiting to be tapped into. So why would they do something to offend those fans or to basically make those fans, turn off? Because that would just be a terrible business decision. So I don't know. For me, everything I hear that people are going to go, I can't believe it. I'm like, I have the opposite opinion most of the time. I'm like, that's great news, fantastic. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a bit of a strange time where people like to get angry on Twitter. Well, it's always like that, I suppose.
I do think as well this is a good time for a TV show like this to come out because they have had so much to learn from. They can learn from the good of Game of Thrones and the bad of Game of Thrones, and then they can look at TV shows like Breaking Bad and how successful that is. By the way, I think the showrunners are the writers are the same guys that did Breaking Bad, which is one of the best.
Really?
There's some connection with Breaking Bad. I saw OneRing.net put it out there a couple of days ago. They said these guys are like the same guys involved in Lord of the Rings on Amazon Prime. So I don't know. There's lots of red flags for people, but like if you start looking,
sure,
yeah, just try look out for the green flags, and you'll see that there are plenty of them, and you'll be happier for it. And who knows? It could be crap. We don't know, but like it could be crap. But I will base my opinion when I start to see actual content from the show itself, because we still haven't got any.
Yeah, exactly.
We got one picture, one still, which was epic.
Yeah, exactly. The still that we got was incredible. It looked so visually stunning. It was beautiful. We had the two trees in the background. It was amazing. And then now this latest piece of content, the smallest little piece of content, just revealing the title of the series. Again, expertly done with huge detail. Little sort of these tiny little details, like we mentioned, of the water coming in at the particular time when they mentioned the mortal men doomed to die. Like, I mean, just there's a lot of thought, and then of course curating an actual piece of epic music just for this little teaser trailer. Well, again, we don't know. Maybe that music is taken from a larger piece that we'll be using in the show later on. Again, I've got no problem with that. But just the care and the production quality that was put into this small little piece gives me huge hope for how the series is going to turn out. And yeah, I'm all about being positive about what's going to happen, because as we've said, there's been nothing but good content that we've seen so far. All the negativity is just rumors, and there's been absolutely nobody with any clout actually saying, yeah, they've made some strange decisions here in terms of the writing, and it's it's going to be going on like what happened after maybe series 4 of Game of Thrones, when there was officially, we're not going to be going along with the same route of the books. We're going to be kind of veering away from that. There's been none of that. So I mean, I don't know. Again, it just seems like people are whipping up a bit of a frenzy just for the sake of it.
Yeah. We will have more to discuss whenever the actual trailer comes out, I suppose. We'll know more information then, and we'll be able to form a better opinion then. But yeah, that kind of sums up pretty much everything we have to say on this beautiful 1-minute teaser trailer or teaser title reveal from Amazon Prime.
That still only counts as one.
We really appreciate all the love for the podcast, and especially our most recent episode where we discussed The Hobbit, the Cardinal Cut, and the Tolkien Society. And we just want to remind everyone that you are now able to leave a rating on Spotify. So please, even whilst you're listening right now, just click the 5 stars. It just takes 2 seconds. It'll really, really help us out with the analytics and all that mumbo jumbo behind the scenes. But also, if you listen on another platform, please feel free to leave us a rating, and maybe even better, a review on there. So, yeah, please.
We love you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
So yeah, that was just such a really fun day or two when this video was released. So guys, please let us know what your thoughts on the title are. Are you looking forward to this show? And also, did we miss anything? Please let us know. If you're listening on Spotify, I'll include the question on the app. If not, you can reach out to us on our socials, which are in the podcast description. We will be doing podcasts on each episode as they come out, as Johnny explained earlier, in September. So hit the subscribe to hear all our thoughts on the Tolkien lore past, current and future. But until next week, guys, goodbye.